Why Japan can't fix its population crisis? Um, I heard somewhere, I don't know where I heard it, so I should probably fact check it. But I heard somewhere that they made like Japan is making a lot of like animes with like parents and kids, like Spy Family and like what was it, Buddy Daddies, to try and get people to like have more kids. I don't know. I don't remember where I heard that. That was false. There's no evidence. Don't know where I heard that, but I mean that would make sense, but it also makes sense that there's no evidence that they're just making them just to make them.
Japan's population crisis is urgent. Japan just recorded fewer than 700,000 births last
Dang.
year. That's the lowest in their history. And the government is panicking. They're spending $25 billion a year to fix this. But nothing is working. Most people blame anime waifus for raising an entire generation of men of culture.
Okay, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it.
Or herbivore men who never
I think it's the work balance in Japan, like how much work they have to put in.
learn to talk to girls because pixelated passion projects provide on-demand affection, drama,
Also, if that's true, then wouldn't that affect like America too? Because like we watch anime, so wouldn't that affect our like birth
and
rates?
climax. Those people are wrong.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm
that's
John,
true.
and I study East Asian societies. Those stories are just a sideshow. The real reason Japan is running out of babies isn't a lack of interest. It's a simple math problem that's impossible to solve, giving the whole country the Kumon kid face. In Japan today, having a family is an act of economic suicide for most young people. And the forces
I think it's because of work. Number one, if you want a good stable job, you have to like work a lot. So if you have a kid, your like attention is diverted elsewhere instead of at your job. And isn't it like it's the same thing with like people don't want to marry either because of like the financial stuff, probably. Oh, what else? I really do think it's just time. And
creating
also, like, doesn't Japan have like a really high like older population? So there's like more old people than young people. Maybe? I
that
don't
reality
know.
are now spreading to the rest of the developed world. But here's what makes this urgent. There's one fundamental financial shift happening right now in Japan that's a canary in a coal mine for your own future. I'll show you exactly what that is near the end. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down 4 social forces creating this crisis. We're going to label them as bosses. We'll look at what's actually driving the decline, the deeper reason those forces exist, what's been tried, and what this tells us about the reckoning coming for the rest of us.
What's happening? The undercurrent.
Let's start with the scale of what's happening. Japan's population peaked in 2008 at 128 million.
Damn.
By 2070, it's projected to drop to 87 million. That's losing the equivalent of Canada's entire population in 50
Dang.
years. The government knows this is existential. They're spending trillions of yen annually trying to reverse the trend. None of it is working. But more on that later.
Who walks around with that kind of cash?
Now, most Western netizens love the cultural explanation. But when you actually look at the data, consumption rates for adult entertainment are similar to other developed countries. France watches plenty of non-pixelated entertainment too. Their native birth rate is 1.7. Japan's is 1.15. The cultural theory being thrown around just doesn't hold up.
Wrong. Wrong.
The real frame is simpler and much more structural. Japan's birth crisis is fundamentally a marriage crisis. And a marriage crisis is fundamentally an economic one. And the economic crisis is fundamentally a gender crisis. Here's a stat that locks it in. France has nearly 3 in 5 births happening outside marriage. The UK is about half. Japan, 2%.
No.
If you're not married in Japan, you're almost
You're not
certainly
having a
not
kid.
having kids. And marriages are collapsing.
If you ask me, marriage is a trap.
Oh,
Japan
facts.
recorded fewer than 500,000 marriages for the 3rd year in a row in 2025, the lowest levels since 1933, when the population was half of what it is today. So the question isn't, why aren't Japanese people having kids?
Why
The
aren't
question
they getting
is,
married?
why is getting married becoming impossible? And that's where the bosses come in. Quick plug, if you like these sorts of deep dives, please like and sub.
Already did, buddy. Level 1 boss, the marriage bottleneck.
The dating numbers tell the full story. A third of young people express no interest in romantic relationships at all. Among men in their 20s, nearly half have never had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
1 in 6 plan to never marry. Now here's what makes this interesting. The total fertility rate among married Japanese couples is 1.91. It's below replacement, but it's not a crisis. The crisis comes from the fact that fewer and fewer people are getting married in the first place, and that's where the social forces come in. Japanese women face what sociologists call the M-shaped employment curve. But to a young woman in Tokyo, it doesn't look like a letter. It looks like a career-ending cliff that you're expected to walk off the moment you say, I do.
I don't want to get married.
Women start their careers after school, but a huge number quit when they have kids. Some come
That's what I said. I think.
back later,
Kind
but
of.
many don't. So when you graph this out, it looks like a giant letter M. You start your career here, you drop off here to have kids,
Yep.
and you try to climb back up. But
it
in
never
Japan,
works.
that middle dip is more like a cliff.
Yeah.
This happens because Japanese workplaces still operate on the assumption that mothers will step back from careers. When a woman sees that having a baby means losing their career,
They won't
and that
do
they'll
it.
still have to do all the chores at home, the trade-off becomes impossible. Marriage stops looking like a team effort and starts looking like a trap. But even for couples who want to break through that bottleneck and get married, they hit a secondary wall, the economic one.
Level 2 boss, the economic trap.
After Japan's economy crashed in the 90s, the job market split in two. Instead of steady, forever jobs, half of all young men now work gig jobs. These are part-time or contract roles with no safety net and no promise for the future.
Oh.
Think of adult life in Japan as a game you have to beat, but the bosses keep getting bigger. Researchers found a magic number. Men need to earn about 3 million yen a year to afford to get married. That's $20,000. And
Dang.
7 out of 10 men can't beat it. They're not even hitting the starting line. The marriage data reflects it. Among men with non-regular employment, only about 1 in 5 get married. Among men with regular employment, more than half do. But the problem is, 40% of young men don't have a stable regular job. And even if you clear the income threshold, you're still facing the same boss. Because level 2 second health bar is housing. In Tokyo, newly built condos now average over 100 million yen in the greater area as of 2025. City center units push closer to 150 million yen.
Dang.
Prices keep rising, with some places jumping nearly 40% in a single year. If you're renting a family-sized place, you're easily looking at 1,300 to 2,300 USD for about 500 square feet of actual living
What?
space.
What?
That's the size of a 2-car garage. And when the cost to raise a child through junior high school is over
Oh my God,
$100,000,
yeah.
that
Oh.
Kuban kid face just isn't about homework anymore.
Homework? What homework?
Now, you've probably seen the viral videos. Beautiful traditional Japanese houses for $500, sometimes free. The internet loves these stories. Just move to rural Japan and live the dream. But here's what those videos don't tell you. For most young Japanese, those homes aren't a solution. They're a form of economic exile. And there's a very specific reason
Well,
nobody is.
there's no jobs out there, right? It's just a house. Where are you gonna work? How are you gonna get more money if you're in some nowhere forest with no job in sight, like nothing in sight? Like you're trapping yourself in there.
actually taking them. While Japan has about 9 million vacant homes, the sad
Dang.
reality is career advancement only exists in cities. Some rural areas will give you a house for
Like-
almost nothing. So you stay in Tokyo, you pay the rent, you fight through level 2. But staying in the game has a cost, because you'll meet the level 3 boss.
The overworked swamp. Yeah.
Japan's
yeah.
work culture makes family formation.
Well, okay. Here is what I think for like the workplace. If you're working in the city in Tokyo and you somehow have an office job, right? You need that job. There isn't no like, oh, my boss is being mean to me, I'm just gonna quit. You need that job to stay in the city, to make enough money, to have housing and like have a wife and have a kid and everything. Like you need that job. 100%. And it's hard to get another job too in the city. So your boss knows that, and they just keep piling more work and more work and more work on you because they know you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to complete it, or you're gonna get fired. And that's like a death sentence, because where else are you gonna work? So the bosses are like really, really mean, and then they keep overworking you, and then they make you stay later and later, and they don't pay you overtime, and oh my god.
And structurally impossible. Roughly 10% of the entire workforce, millions of people, are logging over 80 hours of overtime every month. That's 2
insane.
full extra work weeks on top of their regular hours. Over half of the workforce reports serious work-related stress. Among people working 60-plus hour weeks, more than 1 in 4 suspect they have depression or anxiety. The level 3 boss is the maintenance cost of staying in the game, and it never stops. It's a tax you pay every single week to keep your position. Both women and men face this. Let's talk about women first.
Turns out the government tracks a lot of data, and it's scattered.
Wives handle 5 times more housework than husbands.
What?
And here's the part that breaks the system. Even women doing a full-time job still do 25 hours of housework per week. That's 65 or more hours of labor a week, working 2 jobs, one of which doesn't have a paycheck or a lunch break, and both of which make you feel like you're failing. This expectation creates a double bind. If they have a kid, they usually have to quit their jobs. And if they try to stay, the office makes them pay for it. In Japanese offices, there's a secret rule for pregnant women. It is not just mean comments, it's a quiet pressure to make them feel like they don't belong.
What?
They call it matahara, a combination of maternity and harassment. It's a series of hints that they aren't part of the team anymore. They get skipped for big projects or hear whispers that they aren't dedicated to the job. A legislator named Matsumoto described what she saw in her office. There was only one mommy in the whole division. She was always saying, "Sorry, I'm sorry, I have to go home." It was very sad. That's the culture. Parenthood as apology. But the system isn't just breaking women, it's breaking men too. Fewer than 1 in 3 fathers make it home in time for family dinner.
Oh my
You're
god.
technically part of the family, but you're never actually there. Your kids know your voice from phone calls, not from dinner conversations. Japan's parental leave policy looks generous on paper, but only roughly 2 in 5 men actually took paternity leave in 2024. The law gives you the right, but the culture treats it like a betrayal. Taking time off to care for your child signals you aren't committed to the team.
Bro,
You're technically allowed to leave, but everyone knows what it costs you. So men stay, they work the overtime, and they become the absent father the system demands them to be. But here's the final variable in the math that makes family formation
Denmark? What? Yo, that's crazy. Hello.
possible. It's called double care. A growing number of workers, mostly women in their 30s and 40s, are being crushed by a simultaneous demand, providing childcare for their kids and elderly care for their parents at the same time. 1 in 10 facing that double duty quit work entirely. 8 out of 10 of those are women. When young people look at the future, they aren't just calculating the cost of diapers, they're calculating the likelihood they'll be spending their peak career years doing decades of unpaid work for 2 different generations who rely on them.
That sounds so stressful. To win is to survive.
In the real game, you don't fight these bosses one at a time. You fight them all at once.
Oof.
To survive, you need a perfect game. Everything must align. It's not that it's impossible, it's that the margin for error is so small that almost everyone fails. This is because of a structural failure sociologists call the stalled gender revolution. Women started working full-time, but things at home didn't change. Men didn't start doing more chores. The government didn't build enough support. It was half of a revolution that just stopped. Even
Why-
after the massive push
Why don't men help out? Like, is it just like is it just like the culture? Like, you just, I don't
for womenomics in the last decade under late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, the problem remains. Women face matahara in a labor market that still operates on 1970s assumptions about who does the unpaid work home. Because the revolution stalled, men are trapped in a 1970s breadwinner identity that requires the kind of hours that
Oh,
makes
so it's
active
breadwinner.
fatherhood impossible.
Okay.
The lack of interest in relationships we saw earlier isn't a mystery. It's what happens when the culture demands you to be a breadwinner, but the economy won't let you home for dinner. Nobody wins, and fewer people are choosing to play. The government sees declining birth rates and thinks the solution is making children more affordable. But the real problem is the entire social structure makes family incompatible with economic survival and career advancement.
Policy response and why it's failing. Because the government doesn't
In 2023,
understand.
Prime Minister Kishida called this Japan.
They see a number and they think, oh, we just have to change this other number and then it'll work. But I think it's way deeper than that. It's the culture around working in general
last
that
chance.
you need to change.
He said, Japan is standing on the verge of whether we can continue to function as a society. As I said earlier, the government is spending $25 billion annually on this.
You
But
can't
they're
just throw
hiding a
money
piece
at
of data
it.
that proves they
You
already
can't.
know it's failing. Internal government projections have shown that even spending trillions of yen more would barely move the needle,
Yeah.
a reality they rarely admit while announcing these massive budget packages.
Yeah, they can't just keep throwing money. That's not gonna work. You have to fix the whole
I'll show you that
thing.
data
You
in
gotta
just a
fix all of
second.
it.
俺になんか隠しとらへん。
First, look at what they're actually trying. Families get 15,000 yen, roughly $100 per month for each child under 3. If you have 3 or more children, university is tuition free and that stipend doubles. They also built AI-powered matchmaking systems. Tokyo
AI.
spent 300 million yen on a government dating app. 31 of Japan's 47 prefectures now offer AI matchmaking services.
AI.
They're trying to get people to leave Tokyo, so the government offers 1 million yen, about $7,000, per child for families willing to move from Tokyo to rural areas.
Rural.
By 2022, fewer than 2,400 people had taken that deal because the jobs are in the city.
Yes.
They didn't update the data
Fix
since
the
then,
job.
probably because there are so few takers. They also reformed work hours. New laws cap overtime at 45 hours per month, 360 hours per year. But there's a catch. Companies can use special clauses to push that limit to 100 hours. The government's
Are we
goal is to let
serious?
85% of men take paternity leave,
Yeah.
but none of it is working.
My conditions. Take it or leave it.
Professor Masakazu Yamauchi from Waseda University puts it clearly. Rising living costs, persistent gendered divisions of labor,
Yep.
and long-standing patterns of delayed marriage cannot be solved by cash
Dang,
alone.
you can't just throw money
Most
at
Japanese
it, bro.
people doubt these policies will actually work. And here's why they're right. The dating app assumes the problem is that people can't find each other, but young people are meeting
Oh,
just
yes,
fine.
Yes.
They're just
not
looking
getting
at what
married.
it takes to be a parent today and deciding it's not worth the cost.
Yeah.
The work hour cap sounds good, but laws don't change culture. When everyone around you is
Exactly.
working unpaid overtime to show dedication, the legal cap just becomes the new minimum.
Yeah.
The government is caught between demographic math and cultural identity. They can't make Japanese people have more children. They can't just change the economy and culture to support family formation. So they're importing workers while pretending that's not the actual policy.
Importing workers?
Japan has quadrupled its foreign worker population since 2007.
What?
New reforms passed in 2024 aimed to bring in 1.23 million workers by 2028. That's an intake of roughly 250 to 300,000 people every year, a record pace for a country that has historically been one of the most closed in
Closed
the world.
off country.
But this creates cultural tension. And with the election of Sanae Takaichi, the Japanese are rejecting immigration as the solution.
Yeah,
And it seems like the country is now stuck with a ticking demographic time bomb. I'm dropping a deep dive on this soon, so if you want to understand why one of the world's most advanced economies is terrified of the one thing that could save it, hit sub and click the bell.
well, it's probably because they don't accept foreigners. They don't want foreigners in there. The demographic coffin.
So if the policies are failing and the birth rates aren't coming back, does that mean the country is simply headed for a slow motion collapse? Here's where it gets interesting. To understand why Japan feels stuck, you have to look at the shape of the society. In 1980, Japan had about 7 working age people for every retiree. It was a classic population pyramid, a wide base of young workers supporting a small number of elderly.
Elderly.
Today, that pyramid hasn't
It's
just
flipped.
flattened, it's
Yep.
inverted. It's what demographers call a coffin shape. We are currently at 1.4 workers for every retiree. By 2050, that ratio is projected to hit 1 to 1. Think
Dang.
about what a 1 to 1 society looks like. It means every single person working a job is
has
effectively
a
carrying a
grandparent.
retiree on their back.
Yeah.
Their taxes and healthcare premiums aren't building the future. They're just paying for the past. While the government spends $25 billion on babies, Japan's total social security bill runs over $1 trillion a year. The state has become a giant vacuum, draining the wealth of the young to
Yeah,
keep the
hi,
lights
bro.
on for the old. And this demographic coffin creates a labor crisis. By 2040, Japan faces a shortage of 11 million workers, roughly the entire
Dang.
population of Greece.
I
Japan's
follow.
response isn't to give up, it's to automate. Japan produces over a third of the world's industrial robots, more than any country except China. We're seeing Raicho robots in agriculture. Work that used to take 20 hours now takes 1. In convenience stores, the lifeblood of Japanese cities,
Yep.
are now experimenting with fully autonomous staff. Japan is betting everything on robots to fix the worker shortage. While it may solve the labor shortage, it doesn't solve the social shortage.
Yeah.
Robots do everything faster.
Financially speaking, this demographic coffin keeps the economy stuck. Japanese households are sitting on nearly $14 trillion in financial assets, the majority of it controlled by people over 65, and they aren't investing it in the future. They keep it in safe bets: banks, utilities, and old-school industries. Meanwhile, the shrinking younger generation is doing the opposite. They're sending their capital out of Japan into global index funds so they can capture the high upside of future growth. This is a form of financial hollowing. The domestic economy loses its growth engine because the old money is too scared to move, and the young money is already gone. This is what happens when society stops producing the one thing an economy needs to survive: new people. You can't grow without a new generation to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching this outside of Japan, you might think, that's interesting, but it's a Japan problem. You're wrong. Japan isn't an outlier. It's a preview, running about 20 years ahead of the curve. And other developed countries are following the same trajectory. Just look at the data. Even North America isn't immune. They are below replacement level. The US and Canada are only maintaining population growth through immigration.
What?
The bigger themes here go beyond birth rates. Our whole world is built on the idea that the population will always grow. Capitalism demands it. But what happens when it doesn't? We're finding out that more freedom for women doesn't work if the system doesn't support them.
Mm-hmm.
You get more freedom, but fewer children. Wealthy, safe, educated countries don't automatically keep making babies. This isn't a Japan problem. It's a problem of the whole world. Japan is just the first to face it. Now we have to ask, can a country stay strong while it gets smaller? Or do we always need to grow to survive? What we're seeing in Japan is what happens when the rules of life stop making sense. The economy asks for more work than a family can handle. Women's lives have changed, but the way we work and live simply hasn't caught up. It's become too expensive for most people to even start a middle-class life. The young people in Japan aren't lazy or broken. They're looking at the cost of a house, the long at work, the lack of help, and they realize the deal is no longer fair. So they're making the only choice that makes sense. They're protecting their own lives instead of a system that doesn't support them. Japan's the first to face it, but the curve is coming for everyone. South Korea is close behind, and I did a deep dive on their situation, and it shows exactly where this trajectory ends if nothing changes. I'll put it up here. The question isn't whether Japan will recover. The question is whether the rest of us are paying attention to what the math is telling us about our own futures. If you like this video, you'll like this one.
It's not good.
Don't forget to like and sub.
Basically not good. It's not.